Therapized. Hello, everybody. It's Tom here. Hope you're all well. I want to talk today about the idea of therapy and how some people have been therapized to the point where perhaps they believe that the only way for anybody to get any sort of way in life is to go through therapy. So, let me give you an example. So, my sister, I've mentioned before, used to be a drug taker. She used to do a lot of very hard drugs. And for a period of time, her life was out of control. She was not a very pleasant to be around. But I always knew that it was the drugs and not my sister. That's not the person that she was. But that's ultimately who she became under the influence. And if you were to speak to her now, she would admit that she doesn't remember most of her 20s and it's all a blur, you know? So she needed something to help her. And that, what she needed was recovery and therapy. And it's been really good to her and it's been really good for her because she's turned her life around. She's become better as a result. I'm grateful to it. I'm grateful for her hard work and persistence to try and get herself well as well because it's a very difficult thing to overcome an addiction, as I've mentioned before on this channel ages ago. Never had to myself have overcome an addiction, but having watched my sister go through it, it was very hard. And she's brave for doing it, and I'm really proud of her. However, this is not me having a slant at anybody that's ever been in therapy because therapy works really, really well in some cases. However, it's not for everybody, and it's not always the solution. And I'm saying this today because, as most of you know, I've had some mental health issues. The last 10 years or so, I've gone through depression. I've gone through some really dark times. Yes, I did go down the route of therapy, but I wasn't somebody that stayed consistently with it for a very long time. I just took what I needed from it for a very short period and managed to straighten things out over a period of time. Now, if you were to speak to my sister, she would insist that to be therapized was the only way. Now, unfortunately, it can be like that. I've seen this in another way as well. For somebody who was a born again Christian, he was a born again Christian, it saved his life, it turned things around for him. That is amazing, and I'm pleased. However, in his head, everybody had to go down the same route. And I'm seeing a little bit of a correlation here. Therapy is not for everybody. I repeat, it's not. It doesn't always work. It doesn't always serve that person receiving it in a good way. I'll give you an example where I went to therapy when I went out feeling worse than what I did when I went in. That didn't work. Then I gave it another try with somebody else and it did work. And it did help me and it did get me to help build the foundation for which I've managed to move forward with. So it can work. But for those who've been in therapy of any sort, I think they get into a trap really where they see their own success as perhaps this is how everybody should be. And the same with that gentleman who'd become a born again Christian. In his head, anything outside of his own recovery, his own path, just wasn't to be contemplated, which meant that he would then be trying to convince you that it's the only way. And I've seen that as well with people who've gone into therapy. Please, not at any point am I having a go at anyone that has. If it's worked for you and it's turned your life around, fantastic, good for you. But the point I'm trying to make is it's not always the solution for somebody to get better or for them to turn their life around. And I think we do fall into a trap sometimes, especially if something's worked for us, of trying to convince somebody to the nth degree that it's going to work for them. When we must take away that bias of it's worked for me or work for you. And sometimes just go, have we given this a try? And just leave it at that. And if that other person doesn't want to go down that route, we should not be trying to influence and bang the drum too much about how it's going to change things, because not everybody, I repeat, needs therapy. Not everybody will have the same reaction. That guy who was a born again Christian, not everybody wants to become a born again Christian. Not everybody feels the need to turn to religion to sort themselves out. Some people, it works, and it works brilliantly. Like I said, he'd have died without that. So 100%, it was a good thing for him. That doesn't mean it's a good thing for you or the next person, the next person, the next person. I think we need to be careful how much we try and influence others thinking that our path will fit theirs, because sometimes, a lot of the time, it doesn't. And that's my video for the day, and that's my point made, really. Third and final video of the week. I want to say thank you all ever so much for listening. I really appreciate your time and energy spent on my channel. Thank you kindly. Third and final video, as I said, please put down in the comment section below. As I said, therapy is not for everybody. And to be therapized, yes, I think in certain cases it works, and it works for certain people. But there are occasions where it doesn't work. And we should not be so forceful in trying to get people on side with it. Okay? Even if we mean well, a take it or leave it suggestion is better than a full-on trying to influence and engage someone into your way of thinking, even if it has been wonderful for you. Don't fall into the trap of believing that everybody has to go to a similar way that helped you in your path, thinking that it will help everybody, because that is not the case, all right? Please, if you would, consider hitting that subscribe button down below. That'd be great. Consider giving me a thumbs up and a like as well. I'd really appreciate it. And let's hear that bell sign go ding dong so you know when my next content's out. I will be back next week with another 3 videos. But as always, please take care of yourselves. And bye for now.